Okay, I think we'll get started here. So my name is Dr. Oh, get this out of the way here. My name is Dr. Jim Lanny, and I'm the CEO of Intellectus 360, which have both a qualitative tool, which we're going to workshop right here, Intellectus Qualitative, and a quantitative tool called Intellectus Statistics. And there's also courseware that can kind of go with both of those as well. And so let's just go on through here. So before we kind of get into it, I mean, what's the matter with hand coding? Why are we, why do we even have this tool to begin with, right? So, one of so you can definitely use this tool to code by hand and thematize by hand. But there's kind of two, and certainly, you can have the AI aspects of this complement that. Um, but this tool is going to help streamline things, and it's going to help you not have a blank sheet of paper with regards to excerpting and coding and thematizing. Um, so that's one piece of it. So there's an efficiency to it. There's also a rigor part to it that you can have AI derived codes or your own codes. And so it could be more rigorous in terms of getting into all of the data that and can find those additional excerpts for you. So whether you do it manually, I mean, I think the problem was somewhat of an efficiency and a rigor part, and this tool is really designed to kind of um, solve those problems. So, okay, so with that being put out as from the outset, let's just talk a moment about data formatting and inputting of your data options. So typically, most folks have interviews that they've interviewed or semi-structured interviews, and they'll interview individuals, and then the goal is to let's go ahead and excerpt from those interviews. Let's go ahead and code those excerpts, and then let's collapse those codes into themes. I know different tools do slightly different things, but in general, that's what we're doing. We're trying to find phenomena that's out there in the world, and we have some examples of that phenomena. Okay, so most people are entering the data into tools like this just at the interview level. But I want to put out there that there's two additional ways that that data can be inputted, and they're similar. One is by interview question. So if I had 10 interviews and I am putting in and I have 10 separate files just around an interview question. When I use AI, it only has that data to really look at. So it's not cross-referencing responses to other interview questions. So just to know that that's an option of formatting the data in that particular way. Analogously, you can also format your data by research question or study aim. Again, if you have 10 transcripts that only those first three interview questions dealt with research question one, gosh, any themes that you look at are going to be related just to those. So there's not going to be any, again, cross-loading, so to speak. So just to know that you have more than just one option of managing your data pre-loading. So now's the time to kind of log in, and you can use this link. And I'll give everyone a moment to kind of do that. Hopefully you have data. If you don't have data, I will be exemplifying with other data, and you'll soon enough you'll have example data sets in the tool that you can practice with as well. Okay. If there's any questions about the logging in, please do ask Melissa or Ashley, who are with us, and they can help you. So just kind of raise your hand if you want. All right. So presumably everyone's logged in, and then that link is also in the webinar chat. So what are we going to do here? So this is just one protocol uh, doing inductive coding. So the process that I'm going to walk through and that you can follow along with, which is uploading your data or transcribing your audio or video. That's one part of it. For sure, everyone needs to have, complete competence around the data that you have. So that really has to be read and reread because when you use the AI, you're not going to know if that's correct or not unless you have that skill of and that knowledge of what those responses were. So it's really mission critical to have command over your data. Then I'm going to walk through the generating of codes and excerpting. So what this functionality does, inductive autocoding, which is it's going to go out and find those important passages, and they're going to excerpt them. It's going to collapse them together, the ones that are similar, and then create a code name and code description. So that's going to move things along, quite a bit. Now you have, codes to look at and excerpts to look at. Now, in this refining of the excerpts code and code descriptions, we've added a very new, like a couple of days old, an exciting feature, which is you get to refine those codes by using a thumbs up and thumbs down system. And by using that thumbs up, thumbs down, it's going to go do another run and look for other excerpts and codes based on what you preferred. That is, looks like a good code, and this looks like a code that I'm not interested in. So that's a refining process A. Second refining process is to now do a deep dive into those codes and descriptions and excerpts to make sure they're all kind of go together. We then move on to the thematizing process. And in this stage of the game, what's happening is the AI is really doing two things. One is it's discerning, what are the optimal number of themes? So given 10 or 15 codes, how many themes are there? That's question one. The other question is, which codes go together for which theme? And then to have a theme name and theme description, all done with auto thematizing functionality. There is a refining process here as well, which is, okay, now again, you have to do a deep dive into those themes and descriptions to say, does the theme, description, and codes associated with it all make sense? The next step of the process is really a kappa. So I need to put that in there, which is, and we won't accomplish that, but I'll at least show you that you can go out, once you have your themes and excerpts, you can send that out to raters. And we have a nice streamlined way of doing that you can have outside raters kind of do a matching task between the excerpts and the themes, and then calculate a kappa at the theme level and overall for every pair of raters. So that's kind of a nice feature to look at integrated reliability. Then we get to this research question theme alignment. That aspect is, okay, gosh, I have these research questions and I have these themes. In what way are these themes help address those research questions? So we do a matching there using our AI functionality, and then provide a rationale or suggested rationale for why they are aligned. And then again, a deep dive into that alignment. It's got to make sense, and then download. The other thing I would also add is that there's some visualization to be had, and I'll demonstrate some of that. So I think with that being said, I'm going to jump into the tool itself. Melissa, does everyone have kind of is everyone kind of ready to go?
Everyone has the link to log in. If you're having trouble logging in or you have questions, please feel free to put them in the Q&A, and then Ashley or I will answer them for you.
Perfect. Okay, so as I mentioned at the top of the hour, it's a web-based tool. So there's no downloading and updating. And then the first thing we want to do is just kind of create a project. So I'll just name the project, which is, workshop, October 17. Okay. And then there's a place to put in a purpose statement and research questions. The interviews are based on digestive disorders and different kinds of issues around that. So one research question, could be, what are the experiences of with digestive disorders? Okay, so we'll just kind of leave it there for the moment. And then let me just add another question. Okay, are the coping mechanisms okay. So I have two research questions and then the name of the project, and that's the start of it. So now is a place to get data in, and I can upload PDF files or Word docs or text files here. I can upload audio or video to be transcribed at 25 cents a minute, or I can just paste in or start typing in a blank document. So those are the three modes of getting data in. And I'm just going to select two transcripts here. And it takes just a second to have these ready for use. And I close that. And here are the two interviews. They're about 15 pages each. Okay. So now that I have data in, I'm going to do that first part of the inductive coding. So let me just give everyone a moment to kind of upload data. So let me just repeat that again. So I'm back here. We created a project. I put in a project name and added a purpose statement and research questions, and then hit submit. Okay. And then I went to, excuse me, and then I went to this screen to either upload data, or I can do that here. So let me just take a breath to make sure everyone can do that. And as I mentioned, we'll have example data sets ready at hand, before you know it. We have them already. We just have to get it into the tool. All right, I'm going to move along then. By the way, if you have questions, again, put it into the Q&A, ask Ashley or Melissa, and they'll help guide you through whatever step you're at. Okay. So I'm going to go to the AI tools now and go to the inductive coding. There's three things here. There's inductive coding, which is I do not have any, I've not excerpted, and I've not coded anything. You can see the codes here, symbol, and then the excerpts here. Deductive coding, which is I have a priori codes, and now I'm just looking to have excerpts, or I've added interviews, and I want to help excerpt those additional interviews, and then we'll get to the thematizing. So first things first, let's just do the inductive coding. So again, all I did was upload my data and I've not done any excerpting whatsoever. So it's going out looking for important excerpts. Um, and then and it's found 35 of them, okay, and it's found 14 codes. Now, so let me go to the preview results. So I can apply these codes and these excerpts to the project here, but there's an intermediary step that we've just added, which is refine those results. So, and this just gives you the instructions that, hey, gosh, I can look at the code description here by hovering over the eye, and then I can thumbs up or thumbs down to kind of say these are codes that are important or not, okay? Or ignore these kinds of ones or generate other codes based on that. So now I'm going to go to the codes. And here's my process. So I'll say alternative medicine looks good, avoiding medical labels, okay, diagnostic challenges. I'm going to say dietary restrictions, emotional origins. I'll say, nah, I don't really want that. Spiritual learning, nah. General health, family health, gluten intolerance. I'll say yes. Health struggles in general, maybe no. Lifestyle, nah. And then I can do these. You don't have to do all of them, by the way, but maybe we thumbs down. Okay, thumbs up and thumbs down. So I've provided my feedback, and then I'm going to submit it. So it's going to take those lessons of what I prefer and don't prefer, and to redo the whole process. Go excerpt, collapse those excerpts, create a code name, and then a code description for that. So that is the new intermediary coding step. And hopefully everyone's doing that with your own data. So it's found using the inductive method, it's found 14 codes, 66 excerpts. So it's increased that. I think it decreased the codes by a couple. And then the refinement is complete, and now I can now apply that to the project. I should have just showed you that, just to hover over. So you can see a little bit more description about those codes. So I could discard them, or I could just apply them to the project. Once I have them, you can see the codes are over here. I can make that a titch bigger. Okay, so the next portion of your job would be to go into each of these codes by clicking on these three dots and going into the details and looking at the suggested code name, the suggested code description, and then the excerpts to see if they all kind of hang together. Okay. So step one is a fully AI 2-round auto coding. That's what we have here. You can also do other things by generating codes, which is one is I can add a code name, and let's just, so I can have an example code. Let's just find something that's, okay, so let's just talk about this. So I can add a code, let's just say, alternative medicine. Okay. And add a new code name. Okay. So I have alternative medicine, and then I can grab a excerpt like this. All right. And then I can just hit that plus button. And now I've hit that plus button. So I've now tied that excerpt to that manually made code. I can also do a hybrid, so that's kind of purely manual. So we have pure AI, pure manual. And then there's a hybrid version, which is I have found a important passage. Okay. And then, but I want to help with a code name. So I can go to add code and AI assist. And what it will do is it's looking to generate a suggested code name and code description for that passage. Okay, so 3 modes of coding. Well, there's really 4, but I've shown 3, which is inductive coding, purely manual, or AI assisted in naming. Okay. Okay. So, Melissa, you think we should give a breath to see if folks have questions with that process?
We have a couple questions in here if you want to look
Please.
them.
Okay, let me get to those. So it's under the Q&A. Thank you. Okay. So I'm not going to deal with competitive software at the moment. I want to kind of just stay with this. And how is this different from what we use in ChatGPT? Great question. So what we've done here is really tested our prompts. Okay, so a few things. There's numerous different types of LLMs out there. So we've really curated which LLMs do what for us, A. And then we've gone and tested those prompts to ensure that they have the most kind of that thumbs up, thumbs down. So to help refine those codes. So you have a really good basis of codes using AI. Of course, you can use things manually too, but you have a good basis of AI coding with that process, with rigorously tested prompts and with the way that we curate those codes and lend the ability for you to teach that system. Okay. So, all righty. Let's go to the next step. The next step would be that after I have manual codes, AI assisted naming of codes, and AI codes itself, I can now go to the thematizing process. The thematizing process, one has to discern what is the optimal number of themes, and then which codes go with each of those themes. So we have 8 themes. You can see the number of codes in there. Okay. And I can just apply that to the project. So what that's done is, so I now have one theme called dietary management of health conditions. And you can see the codes that are related to it, dietary restrictions, and then other types of dietary restrictions. Okay, so, and then it's distinguished from dietary sensitivity, like gluten intolerance, and so forth. So the next portion of this is really going into each of these each of these themes and going into those details to look to see, does that suggested theme name and that suggested theme description and those codes all make sense? Okay. All right. So you'll want to go into each of those 8 themes. All righty. Once that's kind of laid out, you may want to just peek at some of the visuals of this. So under the Insights document, under the bar chart, you can see at the theme level, here are our 2 participants, and here's their contribution with respect to excerpts. So Sarah has 15 excerpts around the theme of navigating medical paradigms. Okay, and that's the most frequently excerpted theme. And then you can see Brett's contribution to that. He has 3 excerpts. And then, so that's one view of it. You can also do a deep dive in by codes. You can see the codes here. And again, the contribution of Brett and Sarah to each of those codes. And then you could submit that, okay? And then I could also, Okay, so that's part of it. So once you have kind of your themes and codes and excerpts, you've looked at some of the visualization, you say this is looking good, you may want to have raters go out and help you with integrated reliability. How do we do that? Well, you can go to the projects tab, and then you would just go to these three buttons and go to reliability tool. And here, we're then going to take a snapshot of your excerpts and of your themes and send that to your raters by putting in their email addresses here. Invite those raters, and then they'll get an email, and then they'll be able to do that matching task. What does that look like? Well, to give you a sense of what that looks like, under the insights, you'll have a little write-up around each of the, what is an integrated reliability? What are the kind of the qualitative names that go with the quantitative ratings? And then here we have Marlon and Melissa looked at integrated reliability. Here is the kappa for all four of these. So here's the average of those four. So let me rephrase this. Let me start the other way around. For each of the themes here, we have the kappa and the qualitative rating. We also have an overall rating averaging those. This will be done for every pair of raters, okay? And then there'll be a grand average for all of the raters together at the theme and overall level. And then you can just download that. Okay. So again, this is not going to be done right now because we don't have raters and you have to vet all of those codes and themes, but just to show you that procedure. Okay, so we go back here. So codes and themes. I should say that there's memos going along. So the memos, as you're uploading or auto coding and so forth, some of that is being documented. And you can, of course, add memos at any point in time. Okay. So let's just start creating our results document. So one part of it is, in what way are the themes related to the research question? So I can go to research question rationale, go to add, and then here's my first research question. I can select which themes go with that research question, or I can use AI to help me. They have found 4 themes that go with that research question, with the AI suggest. I can submit that. And now what the AI is doing is for this research question, what are the experiences of folks with digestive disorders? It is tying it together with that theme and now providing a rationale for why that theme and that research question go together. Ditto for that research question and the next theme and the rationale and so forth. So this is tying together themes and research questions and providing a suggested rationale to kind of get your brain thinking about how do these things relate. I could also do a deep dive into the themes themselves by selecting, one of the themes, selecting my representative excerpts for those themes. And here I have the theme, nutritional therapeutics. Here is the description of that theme. Here are the code, in this particular case, the code that goes with that theme. And then here are my supporting excerpts. So we're starting to build that results document. We've seen some of the graphing. We've seen some of the kappa analysis. That would be the after you're notified that the raters have completed their ratings. this is where you would generate those integrated reliability or those kappas. The only other thing I would do is the co-occurrence matrix. So here are the themes, the 8 themes here, both on the columns and on the rows. And here are the number of excerpts that overlap. So what this is saying at 3 indicates that theme 1, dietary management of health conditions, and 6, navigating bowel health complexities, they have 3 excerpts that overlap. And the other ones have a couple or none, okay? And you can go in and if you want to dig into those, you can go to the excerpts tab. And we can see where there's 2 codes or 2 themes, okay, that are overlapping. So you may want to look at that excerpt, okay, and then let's see if we can go into that. I think so. I think we can go. We can go to that. Go to that excerpt and say, "Hey, gosh, it really deserves to be on one excerpt or not." So let me see if I just go here, and I'd say, "Well, it really deserves." Harry should make sure this. Okay, so maybe it just goes over, gets rid of that, okay, and puts it towards the 1 code. Okay. And then once you have your document the way you want it, then you could just download it. Okay. And the insights document. So here's my insights document. Here's a graph of my codes. Okay. Some of that research question theme rationale. The description of the themes, you could do this for each of those themes with supporting excerpts and codes, and that's the start of your document. So, within a half an hour, we kind of have that first portion is critical of getting those codes, excerpting, coding, and naming, and looking at those. So that's the first part. Within 15 minutes, you have a good start, and then adding or complementing that with your own codes and excerpts. All right. So questions. So what are the prompts for the codes and themes? We want to connect Brown and Clark to thematic analysis. How do we include for alignment purposes? So what are the prompts for coding and theme? I'm not quite sure. Well, you're asking us for our prompts? That's under the hood. But I appreciate the question, Roxy. If we want to connect this to Brown and Clark thematic analysis, how would we do that? How would we include for alignment purposes? I'm willing to talk to you, Roxy, for a second. Melissa, if you want to have Roxy raise their hand, that's fine by me.
Sure. Let me find you in here, Roxy. I will unmute you.
And in the meantime, go ahead.
If you can raise your hand, that will help me find you through all of the participants. Here we go. Okay.
All right. So how you doing, Roxy?
Hello. Good.
Hi.
Thank you for taking my question.
Well, I hope I can answer your question.
Well, I'm just, I'm new to this, so I'm trying to figure out how I can utilize this tool. But also one of the important things that was brought up by my methodologist is to connect everything because of the thematic analysis that we do. I'm going to use Brown and Clark. And how is this going to be aligned with that? And how can I, if I do choose to use AI, how am I going to merge that and connect that with coding and themes? And I heard you saying that prompts is it's a secret. You already have that embedded in the program.
Of
But
course.
if I want to add more to it, how do I do that? Such as, applying the Brown and Clark's thematic analysis.
So at the end of the day, what would you want to show with respect to Brown and Clark? Different than the
Steps.
different than the theme names, theme descriptions, right? Theme names, theme descriptions, and then supporting excerpts. What else would you expect or want to see from a Brown and Clark point of view?
Well, I'm not quite sure if I have the details for me to explain it to you as of right now, because I'm looking into this, getting familiar with this. But with the 6-step, getting yourself familiar with the, codes and creating it and then reanalyzing it. So I need to show all the steps that I'm doing using Brown and Clark. And how's this connected to the, I guess, analysis that I'm going to do at the end? And how is this helping me to get the codes and themes, applying their 6-step tools? I'm not sure if I make sense.
No,
I'm saying it out loud. Maybe in
no.
my head I make sense. It makes sense, but
So thank you. I'll answer the best I can, which is I think at the end of the day that we need, themes, descriptions, and excerpts. I think the process that we just went through, which was by adding codes in numerous ways and excerpting, manual and AI, okay, and looking at the themes, I think that moves you towards Brown and Clark thematic analysis. I mean, that's what this is exactly doing. With respect to the AI piece of it, what was important is that is really I could have done this better, but the which is really that refining part of it. So at every step of the AI, we have a refining of that. So that's the human part that knows the interviews. And so that's how AI and human analysts work together. But I think with respect to Brown and Clark, that they want to do a thematic analysis and we're moving you along in that direction. I'm not sure that this touch on each of the steps that you're looking at, but I think you need to be excerpting, you need to be collapsing excerpts, you need to be generating codes, you need to see which codes need to be collapsed, you need to see how many themes, you need to see which codes go with those themes, and then there should be some visualization, some integrated reliability, and so forth. So again, I'm not sure if we've touched on every aspect of it. I'm happy to get an email from you and say, hey, you know what? Here are the 6 steps I need to check off, but I think this will get you along that mode. All right. Can you?
thank you.
Sure. Can you add a memo and show an example? So I can add a memo here. So I can title the memo. Okay. Whatever. So example memo. Get into the memo text. If I had tags, I can add a tag and then submit. So now when I go to memos, I can see that memo sitting here and then the timestamp of that. So that's one thing. I think we do a lot more with memos. Happy for your suggestions about how you would want to use memos. But at the moment, you can add memos manually, and then as you do things like use different functionality, those it's being documented in the memos. Can we use AI to run the AI suggestions first? Okay, then add 8 codes manually. We run. Um, so yes, so if I understand your question, Francis, I think what you're saying is I can run those. I think this is what you mean, but Melissa, maybe you could double check me that you can get those code names, okay, and then maybe run deductive on those. So between you, human analyst, and AI, you have a bunch of code names, and then go out and excerpt. Um, is that what you mean, Francis? Maybe we get Francis on the line here.
Francis, if you want to raise, oh, here we go. Got it.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hi, Francis. How are you today?
Good. I guess the question I'm asking is, can you use both inductive, letting the system look for codes for you, and then if you have codes in mind, to put those in a deductive fashion and have the system again look through to see if anything overlaps?
Yes. So, well, I'll say kind of. So I think what you're saying is if we just took, let's just see if we just run it with. So if I have codes, be it manual or not, I can run, and then if I added a code, I can go to deductive, and it's going to go ahead and add additional excerpts to those codes, be it AI codes or human analyst codes.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that I'm not missing something by using my own codes and missing other patterns that might be there.
Right. So you can run deductive, and that can overlay the existing AI work that's been there.
Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
that's really an important question that you asked, really, because it really is. It's adding the rigor on the back end of it, which is, hey, Uh, I'm using AI, but I want to make sure I didn't miss anything, and I want to make sure that my codes are in there as well as the AI code. So I think that's really a great question.
Can I ask one more question, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there a limit of how many transcripts? Because I have like 21 transcripts to upload. Is that possible, or should I
It is
limit it?
no limit to it.
Okay, thank you
Yeah,
very much.
yeah, you're very welcome. And I want to, that reminds me of a question that came in earlier. How does this relate to ChatGPT or others? We've really taken a lot of time to make sure that there's no hallucinations in it. So the way that we upload that data in a proprietary fashion really minimizes those hallucinations. So that's just another point that I should highlight. I'm not 100% understanding on the cap and emailing the generating themes. Can you explain? So yeah, so if I go to this project and then go to the reliability tool, okay, and I'll put in my own email address, James at Lexus 360. So you would do this for each rater, okay, and then invite raters. You cannot provide your own email address. Okay, great. So let's just try Jim at. Okay. So invite rater. So I've just invited myself. So let me just go to my emails. Yeah, I kind of glanced over that, so I appreciate that question, Sophia. Okay. So I have an email that says invitation to participate in integrated reliability. Okay, so I'm going to go to survey. And now check this out. So here are all my excerpts. So it has a little introduction, start the survey. So it has my first excerpt, and then my task is to say which theme this goes to. Okay, can only do one of them. Okay, and then go to next, and you'll see a check mark there. And go to my next excerpt. Here's my next excerpt, and I could see which theme this best goes with. and go to next, and so forth. So I'm going to go through all of those excerpts and then submit my responses. Once I have those responses, then I can go to the insights document and then go to Kappa. Okay. And then it will, once I have 2 or more raters, then I can conduct my Kappa analysis. So that's kind of the process. Hopefully that answers the question. Charlotte, thank you for the thank you.
We had a
Other
question.
questions?
We had a question about the visualization options. Can you just go over those again real quick?
Sure. So so there's 2 visualizations. One is the bar chart, and there's different drill downs by particularly theme occurrences and code occurrences. So what's in this visualization is I have my 2 raters, Sarah and Brett. I have my, I believe, 8 themes here. And then inside of each of these bars is the number of excerpts that Sarah identified for that theme. Similarly, I have the number of excerpts, happens to be 12, that Brett contributed to that theme. Here, for mind-body interconnection, I only have 4 excerpts solely by Sarah, okay? Or solely by Brett in this particular case. So that's one way to look at the interconnection of excerpts, themes, and interviews. This can also be done at the code level. So I have my codes here. Similarly, I have, Sarah's 7 excerpts relating to the code of gluten intolerance. So this is the interconnection of interviews, codes, and excerpts. And I could just submit those. The code co-recurrence matrix is at the theme level, okay, or at the code level, okay. What the number in the cell is the number of excerpts that overlap between, in this particular case, code 4, gluten intolerance, and code 1, alternative medicine. There is no interactions going on there. Okay. You see high numbers here. This gets back to that earlier question about, can I have my own codes? So when I go to grab deductive, it's also going to look at, it's AI. So it's going to be perhaps pulling from those same excerpts. So that's why you have this going on here with these relatively high numbers of 10 excerpts are overlapping, okay, on code 4, okay, because we did the inductive and then the deductive. But you have this, which is, hey, diet is a treatment and avoiding medical labels. There's 5 excerpts, so you should look at those, okay, to see again, what code and theme it should really go to. All right. Can someone in social science use this tool? It's built for social science. I mean, social science and health science, that's the name of this game here. So absolutely. I run a child assessment program. I'm trying to determine if the staff are inputting the data, are entering a reliable and valid way. How might this help? So one answer is, well, I'll give you 3 answers. The first 2 I know pretty good. The third we'll make on the fly. One answer is enter the data twice. Okay, that's how you can tell and compare. So that's something that It's laborious, but when you enter data twice, you can see that it's done correctly. The other thing is to look at I'll say every 20th piece of data. Is that entered incorrectly? Okay, whatever that is, be it a paragraph or be it a metric of some sort. To not to redo the whole thing, but every 20th one, whatever that denominator is, excerpt or whatever. In terms of this, so if we're looking at codes and themes, I mean, gosh, why not have two unique raters do their own analysis, do their own excerpting, coding, and thematizing with human and with AI. Let them boil down. Let them do that deep dive. Okay. And then let them compare notes. Hey, gosh, here's my here are my themes and supporting excerpts. What do you have? I mean, it's almost like instead of sitting down at the kitchen table and doing it together, maybe having them do it separately and then get together to say, hey, you know what, I came up with this theme. What do you think about that? Here's my support for that. Or, hey, you know what, I have a similar theme. Let's collapse them or let's rename that. So I think you can have folks come together either at the same time. That's fine too. That's old school. I think that's how I did it. Or you can have them do it individually in terms of seeing if we're getting similar kind of results. The other thing is, hey, gosh, have somebody do this or a team do this, send out the integrated reliability to the team. It seems to me that you'll want to make sure that there's consensus that is high integrated reliability about the theme names and excerpts within the team. If that's not happening, then you need to go back and look at the names of these things and the excerpts and so forth before going out and having independent raters do that rating. Okay. Other questions? So Melissa, how long is the tool available for?
So this tool will be available through tomorrow if you want to log in and practice with your own data. We're going to send the recording to everybody today. If you have questions about trials, if you're faculty, please reach out to Ashley. Her contact info is right there. I know I've given some of you my contact info during the webinar, and I'll follow up with you via email for those questions. And then there's one more question that came through, or a couple more are coming through, so we can get back there.
That's fine. No problem. So what do we have here? Taking up another question. Is there a cap on how many transcripts one can upload? So no, there's not a limit to that. Okay, I think once you mess with the AI function, this function makes a huge difference. Thank you. So yeah, so a lot of time has been spent in developing those prompts. I mean, they actually have a name of a prompt engineer, like they just literally developed a new role, and then to be able to test that. So that does take some time to do that, because small nuances can make a huge impact. So that the prompting is important. And thank you for that compliment, Sophia. Okay. I think with that being said, I think we'll wrap up. And I want to thank everyone for your attention. Thanks for your interest. I do ask that despite our efforts to bring awareness to the world around us, that you do tell 3 other people. Tell a few other folks that have an interest. We have a whole quantitative tool and a webinar coming up as well. But to share the Intellectus quant and qual tools that we're here to help solve your data analysis problems and assist in a very functional way, in an efficient way, and in a rigorous way. So please do share with others in your social community, social modes of connecting. So with that, I will say thank you and see you next time. Okay.